Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3783 AM. Today's date is November 26, 2025, and the title of the episode is Trump is helping the central bank bankrupt itself. That is what the people are witnessing. Hey, you know what's interesting? While everyone was watching the headlines, the Trump administration just quietly released a document that could reshape the mining sector. This is real, and it's happening right now under Executive Order 14241. This isn't just about mining. It's a national security imperative. In an official report to the White House, the administration just named the Palmer Project in Alaska as a key asset of America's mineral independence. Vizsla Copper has acquired that project. We're talking an estimated $3.5 billion in ground value containing the very copper, zinc, and silver vital for our military and energy grid. This is a government-backed move to fast-track domestic production and puts Vizsla trading in the U.S. under ticker VCUFF at the center of the action. And that's just the beginning for Vizsla Copper. They're led by the same team that propelled Vizsla Silver to $1 billion valuation. With the Palmer acquisition announced less than 48 hours ago, this could mark the start of something monumental. They have the team, the assets, and now the explicit backing of a U.S. administration prioritizing national security. We've seen this happen recently when other Alaska miners like Triology Metals and Nova Minerals got government backing. Their shares shot up over 200%. The Palmer Project was just named in the government report, and the market hasn't priced it in yet. Vizsla Copper trades in the U.S. under the ticker VCUFF and in Canada as VCU.V. They're definitely worth a closer look. Huge thanks to Vizsla Copper for making today's video possible. Check the link in the description below for more information. Just go to vizslacopper.com or click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. Trump has known their playbook from the very, very beginning. And he knows that what they were trying to do was to down their old system to bring us into the new system, because I think we all have known this because they mentioned it back in March of 2020. They mentioned how they were going to bring us into the Great Reset, and this is their Great Reset. And what Trump is doing, he's actually resetting their economic system and using it against them. Why? Because he's creating a parallel economic system, and this new system is competing against the central bank system. So if you have an old system that the central bankers were going to destroy no matter what, because they're trying to bring us into their new system, and their new system was supposed to be the central bank digital currency and complete and utter control. So if they were going to do it anyhow, why not move forward with the plan? Because if you're building a parallel economic system made up of tariffs, the gold card, energy sales, technology sales, and you're bringing income into this country, and you know the central bank is going to destroy their old system, why not max out the credit card? Because really, that's what it really is. Max it out and bring it to its knees, because once it's on its knees, you have the leverage. You have the control because you have a competing system. And the system that you brought to its knees can't compete anymore. And it makes it that much easier. And I do believe that's what we're witnessing right now. And everything the central bankers have told us from the very beginning has always been a gigantic lie. When it has to do with inflation, when it has to do with debt, when it has to do with employment, when it has to do with everything. They've created an illusion that has been tricking the people for a very long time. Remember, there was talk about having universal basic income where people were just going to get money. Well, if you look at the United States right now and you look at the welfare system, that's basically what it is. I mean, yes, every other country has this, but that's basically what it is. It's universal basic income, if you really think about it, because they're receiving money every single month, and most of these people depend on it. And think about why they wanted to bring us into the universal basic income world. Because again, with the welfare program, SNAP, and everything else, they started out using that, and they were going to morph it into universal basic income. Because when you really look at this, and we've mentioned this study before, but Peter Sangong put this out, the UBI study that was done out in the UK, it turns out if you give cash to the poor, people just basically quit their job. They don't want to work. They don't get healthy or start a business. They don't get their life together. They actually become worse parents. Like most welfare, UBI is about bribing the poor to stay poor. So think about it. The central bankers, they mentioned universal basic income, and actually they wanted to do this during COVID. This is what the stimulus was all about. And they knew if they were able to hook everyone on this, almost like a drug, if you hooked everyone on this, no one would be productive. And basically you would have complete and utter control over the people. And this is what they were trying to do from the very beginning. But you could see everything now is being reversed. And Trump now is in the process of destroying the central bank system. Because think about it. With the central bank system, every dollar that you make, and Zero Hedge put this out, 24 cents of that dollar goes to pay the interest on the debt, which means you're only making 76 cents on that dollar. Because again, you have to pay for the ability to use the borrowed money. That's what that is really about. And this is why we can't produce the penny, because the value of the currency continually declines over time. So you're paying the interest on the debt, which means you only have 76 cents left. And we know that the dollar has lost 98% of its value, which means there's not enough money to even create a penny, which we know that's why they're stopping the production of pennies. Ultra Pepulized Matter put this out and said, the American penny is history. The nickel could be next. Why? Because a nickel is 75% copper, 25% nickel. It costs nearly 14 cents to mint, yet it's still only worth 5 cents. So think about it. It now costs 14 cents to make a nickel, which is worth 5 cents. So basically what you're seeing right now is that the value of the currency has declined so much that we can't even make a nickel. I mean, it's really not that far behind the penny. Actually, we already surpassed it, actually, if you really think about it. And think about it. Copper is worth more. Nickel is worth more. I'm talking about the metals. And you could see this very, very clearly. So you're paying for the interest. The value of the currency is declining. And we can't even make the currency with the currency that we have because the currency is worth nothing. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable when you really step back and take a look at this. It means the system is failing. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they knew exactly what the central bank was planning to do. And they knew eventually what was going to happen is we needed to move out of the central bank system. Now, think about it. Before Trump came in for his third term, which I do believe it is his third term because the second term, the deep state players, Biden, Obama, and the rest, they cheated in the election. They overthrew the United States government. And Trump needed to wake the people up. But in his third term, what has Trump done right now? He's created a parallel economic system. Now, he's done this on purpose because, again, when we go back to March of 2020, when the central bank, the World Economic Forum, Prince Charles at the time, now he's King Charles, they all mentioned the Great Reset. Their plan was always to destroy their old system. Let's talk about our health. In recent clinical trial this year, women who took 2.5 grams of collagen peptides daily for 8 weeks saw an average of 25% reduction in eye wrinkle depth, 9% improvement in skin elasticity, and 29% book in skin hydration, proving collagen can visibly strengthen and rejuvenate skin from within. This is why I use today's sponsor, BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen, and I'm obsessed with the results it's given my skin. BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen helps supercharge my skin health using 5 premium types of collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. I've noticed smoother skin, more elasticity, more hydration, fewer fine lines, and a youthful glow. Plus, it also helps improve my joint health, bone strength, and connective tissues on top of my skin health. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, you'll also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with your order. Once again, go to healthwithx22.com to get this deal now, or just click the link in the description. So if they destroyed their old system without a competing system, we'd be screwed. There'd be no other system, and we'd have to go into their system that they're creating with the central bank digital currency. Now, Trump knows, because he knows the playbook, that they were going to down their system no matter what, if he was in power or if he wasn't in power, because that was their plan. So he couldn't allow them to down their system without a competing system, where the competing system is bringing in income into this country. And remember, the tariff system doesn't really work with the central bank system, because the central bank system, the country, the people of this country, borrow the currency with interest attached. The tariff system, we have income coming in, but we're using the central bank income currency. That money's coming in. We're not borrowing it, but it's still the central bank currency. You see, our full buying power is not back yet. But Trump, he needed to start something to compete with the central bank system and then bring the central bank system to its knees. Now, Joe Lange put out a very good post, and he's pointing to a Zero Hedge article, and it says the following. Here is a good article full of good information, but it completely misses what Doge was all about. It also misses what Trump is doing and why the deficits are growing. It was back in February when he explained to Elon Musk why his strategy to shock the U.S. government into spending efficiency through Doge, while noble, is ultimately doomed to wit. What Musk is doing in trying to streamline the government is admirable, but ultimately it will be Congress that decides the endgame. And their things are as status quo as always. Status quo it was indeed, and it took the world's richest man several months to realize it. And while there has been a heated fight in the press whether Doge is still technically active inside the Trump admin, we have some bad news. After a valiant start of 2025, the U.S. has regressed to its old drunken sailor spending ways and has seemingly done so on steroids. Earlier today, the Treasury published the October budget data, and it was ugly. Government revenues were actually a solid 23.7% improvement to the $326.8 billion collected in October 2024. Of course, that includes the now solid monthly contribution from Trump's tariffs, which in October added $31 billion to the tally. As usual, it was government spending that was the problem again. At $688.7 billion, or over $22 billion per day, the October total was a 17.9% jump compared to the $584.2 billion spent a year prior. The combination of these two numbers resulted in a $284.4 billion deficit for the month of October, which was not only higher than the $257.5 billion deficit last October, but also higher than the record COVID budget buster of $284.1 billion in October of 2020. For people stuck in the past who don't know the real reason why Doge was created and what its real purpose was, it looks like a failure. But rooting out and exposing fraud was only part of the reason Doge was created. And it was very effective in doing that. USAID has been shut down and the fraud has been exposed in Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP, which are now being cleansed. But Doge was never going to decrease the deficit or the debt. Why? The author of the article blames the increase in deficit spending on Congress. But that ignores the fact that Congress passed Trump's big, beautiful bill because it was what he wanted. That is the reason that government spending and deficits are expanding. Why is Trump massively growing government spending and increasing the deficit and debt? Why is he doing it on purpose? When you step back and you look at the big picture, you realize exactly what Trump is doing. He's purposely bankrupting the system. He's moving us out of the fiat system and into a new system of honest money backed by gold. Trump is increasing spending because he's maxing out the Federal Reserve credit card before he bankrupts them. It's that simple. Many can't see the forest for the trees. Those living in the past focus on the trees, deficit, debt, rather than the forest of things happening in the background, pointing in a specific direction. The more government spending, the better. The faster we bankrupt the system, the sooner we will move into the new system of financial freedom. But here's the other reason why Doge is so important and is a massive success, not a failure. Doge is creating the new system within the government that keeps track of every single taxpayer dollar. I believe they're installing the blockchain system that will force our entire government to be transparent and prevent corruption in the future. That is how they are exposing all this fraud. They're simply following the money. Doge is transforming the entire government. Power back to the people. And yes, Doge is also basically removing the many, many different agencies, the funding of all these different agencies. And if you notice, Doge has been decentralized and it's been put into different departments where they're going to keep track of all this currency. And yes, they might even use the blockchain to keep it completely and utterly transparent. I do agree with this. But think about it. Without Trump starting the parallel economic system, which is the tariff, the gold card, energy sales, technology sales, he would not be able to do any of these things. Because in the end, the debt, remember, the central bank system is based on debt. The whole system, everything that you know, is based on how the central bank looks at everything. And when you look at what Trump is doing, the new system is not based on debt. We're not borrowing the currency. We're receiving the currency externally because there are countries that want to ship their items into this country. And if they would like to do that, there is a fee for that. And that goes to the American people. That will fund everything. And yes, what Doge is doing, they want to keep track of all this, just like any good business. You see, when you have an open-ended credit card and you just borrow willy-nilly, nobody keeps track of anything. You know why? Nobody's responsible for it. They say, what do I care? We'll just raise the taxes on the people. They'll just continue to pay. Because remember, it's borrowed currency. And yes, they also kick it back to them. So what Trump is doing, he needed an external system that could compete with the central bank. That's why we see both of the systems now running. And Trump's system is getting stronger and stronger every single day. You see, and I do believe with Joe, every time people look at the old system, they're like, oh, deficit, oh, debt, oh, that is based on the old system, the central bank system that they created back in 1913, and we went full fiat in 1971. The new system is going to be completely and utterly different. We're no longer going to be using borrowed currency. We're no longer going to have to pay it back because there's interest attached. This is going to change everything, which means the value of the currency isn't going to lose value. You have to remember, the value of the currency is continually declining. Why? Because we borrow more and more. If you put more of this currency into circulation, it dilutes the currency, and the currency is worth less and less. It's almost like if you took milk and you took chocolate. You put chocolate in a cup, you pour in a quarter of milk. The chocolate milk is very, very strong. If you keep adding milk to the chocolate milk, what happens? It dilutes the chocolate. Soon, you don't even have the chocolate taste anymore. All you really taste is milk, maybe with a hint of something else going on there. But again, that's diluting the chocolate, just like what the central bank does. They dilute the currency. The more we put into circulation, the more they create, the more the people in this country borrow. It dilutes what we have here, which means the currency that you have is worth less and less. And now what Trump is doing, he's going to return us back to a place where we don't have debt. But he needs to have the leverage over the central bank system. And I do believe that's exactly what he's doing right now. He's building and building his new system while in the same breath destroying the old system. And he will have all the leverage in the end. To top this off, to go back to the gold standard, what is Trump going to do? Well, Elon has mentioned it. Oh, we should audit Fort Knox. We should take a look at the gold inside of Fort Knox. That would be interesting. Why do you think they put that narrative out there? I mean, people are like, why didn't he do it yet? It's not time. Because again, he wants gold to move up. And again, the gold price that we see today is not the true value of gold pegged against the fiat currency. They use the paper market to manipulate it to make you think that this is the true value. So as gold continually moves up, when it hits a point where he says, okay, we're going to revalue the gold, that is when he's then going to say, maybe we should audit Fort Knox and many other areas to see how much gold we actually have. And this is going to give him the power, along with cryptocurrency stablecoins, to basically attack the central bank system and bring it to its knees and destroy it and restructure it and bring it into the treasury. This, I do believe, is his plan. And it looks like we're heading in that direction. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. And have a happy Thanksgiving.